County General Election Candidate Forum. Tonight we will hear from candidates for the office of Fayette County Coroner, County Commissioners District 2 and 3, the Fayette County Council, and also school board candidates for District 1, 2, and 3. We'll get started with candidates for the office of County Coroner, and unfortunately one of our candidates could not be here tonight, Shelia Sturgeon, the Democrat, but we do have Eddie Richardson, the Republican and current coroner, and welcome, Eddie. Glad to have you here. You can have your opening statement.
Thank you, Sam. I am Eddie Richardson. I'm running for coroner, and I'm a over 25-year resident of Fayette County, and I have my 3 children that go to the Connersville High School, and I work here as a funeral director in the county. And I'm running for coroner because I believe that the dead need a voice. They need somebody to stand up for them, regardless of the circumstances of their death. And also, I'd like to focus on education. I don't think that the county really has any idea of exactly what all the coroner's office does, and so I want to try to get the word out and help them understand everything that we do.
All right, thank you. First question, can you describe your professional background and any relevant experience that prepares you for the role of Fayette County Coroner?
Sure. Well, I'm a funeral director. I've been a funeral director for 12 years now, and I work at Mill & Moster Robbins here in town. And also I've worked with several coroners throughout the years, Vicki Wysong, Mary Poe, and of course Cord Coyle. And Cord was really an inspiration to me, and as he was to many people, not just me, but he was a great person, and also a great coroner. And hopefully I can live up to his reputation.
Yeah, we were all saddened at his passing.
Absolutely.
Yes. Second question, how do you manage stress and maintain your own mental health while dealing with potentially traumatic and high-pressure situations?
That's a good question. I guess I've just been doing it so long that it just comes naturally. You know, you leave your work at the office, per se. Mm-hmm. I have my family. I have a very supportive family. And so I go home and do my family things. I go to ball games with the kids and things like that, and just try to just leave those situations at work. And I have a very good separation of work and my regular life. So.
All right. Final question, are there any specific changes or improvements you would like to make to the office?
No, actually Cord had everything pretty much set. He did pretty good getting everything set up and ready to go. The only, you know, we're going to have some issues with the upcoming hospital, building that, and that's where our morgue is at the old hospital. Mm-hmm. And so there's going to be some changes, but I'm ready to address those and work on that.
Are you saying that the new facility will not have a morgue?
I do believe that it will not have a morgue, yeah.
Okay.
So, but we got some, there's a plan, and I'll implement that. It'll be a smooth transition.
All right. Well, that's the questions that we had. You can make a closing statement, and really thank you for coming out tonight.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to say my name's Eddie Richardson, and vote for me for coroner. Thank you.
All right, Eddie. Thank you. And we'll be back shortly with candidates for the office of County Commissioner District 2. And welcome back. This is the Candidates Forum for Fayette County. This time we'll be talking with Dale Munson, County Commissioner, District 2. His opponent, Tracie Sturgeon, is unable to be here tonight. We wish he could have been here. Dale is the Republican, Tracie is the Democrat. Dale, welcome and your opening statement.
I just want to say I've enjoyed being the commissioner for the last 3.5 years, and I'd like to continue for another 4.
All right. What are your long-term goals for Fayette County, and how do you plan to achieve them?
Well, I'd like to see the city and the county work closer on a lot of different items together. I think it's going to take some time to get them to work together, and I would like to try to get some business into the area so we can get our tax bases up.
All right. What initiatives would you support to attract new businesses to Fayette County and support local entrepreneurs?
I think we would have to look at what the business is, what their need is, and see what we can afford to help to get them in here.
You already mentioned this, but if you could expand on it a little bit, how do you plan to work with other local government entities and organizations to achieve common goals?
I think we just need to sit down and talk about it and get the feeling of everybody, what the problem is, how to fix the problems, and get us all started on a one-on-one conversations.
You already work together in some, like the animal department and 911, and
Right.
But there are other opportunities.
I think there is. It's just going to be taking some time to find them and how to put it together. And when we like you say, we work with the dog animal control, 911, first aid unit, and we just need to get some of those fine-tuned up a little bit and get some more information into them and more information into other departments that we could maybe work together.
And there's mutual aid already in a lot of other areas with
Yes.
police and fire.
Yep.
All right. You have a closing statement.
I'm Dale Munson. I hope you will entertain to vote for me come election.
All right, Dale. Thanks for coming out tonight. And we'll be right back with candidates for the office of County Commissioner, District 3 in a moment. And we are back with County Commissioner District 3 candidates, Republican incumbent Tracie Bever and Democrat challenger Gary Ruff. Gary, we'll begin with you and your opening statement, please.
I've lived in Fayette County all my life. I was born here, went to school here, graduated in '73, worked for White Implement, used to be on Western Avenue. They closed up and I opened my own business and been there ever since. Been married for 49 years here in October. Got 3 children, live on a small farm and work on farm equipment. Been interested in commissioners for quite a few years. I ran about 12 years ago against Frank Jackson and just been waiting around, and they kind of talked me into it again this year, so I'm going to give it a try and see what I can do for the county.
All right, thank you. Tracie?
My name is Tracie Bever, and I am married to Brad Bever. We've been married 38 years this year. We have 4 grown children, all married, and 5 grandchildren. We live on a small farm also, and my husband raises cattle for us for beef, and our grandson started showing some hogs at the fair, so we'll be involved in that again. I also have the business catering, C&T catering business for almost 10 years with my friend Carrie. And we have the barn venue with property that people get married and have parties there. And we've done that since 2017. And then I have also been an Orange Township trustee, and then got into the commissioner position after the passing of Mark Nobbe, and have really, after you get in there and realize what all is involved and the responsibility of everything, it really became a passion for me. So I am going to restructure and not be a part of C&T Catering after November this year, and have more time to focus on being in the courthouse and getting the work done. So I'm looking at that as my work now. So.
Well, it is a big job.
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. First question will go to Gary. What do you see as the top 3 challenges facing Fayette County, and how do you plan to address them?
Maintaining the budget, the money, so it's spent wisely and used properly. Keeping the county roads going in good shape. Right now we've got some of the best roads around us. I mean, the other counties are down where we used to be that way, and we've got some excellent roads. I'd like to see that continue. Just try to make everything work out for in the county and keep all the offices going with, within their budgets, and try to maintain the money so we don't overspend and get in trouble again. Yeah, that's all I got to say for now.
Okay, thank you. Tracie, same question. What do you see as the top 3 challenges facing Fayette County, and how do you plan to address them?
I think it is a challenge with our tax base not being, great. A challenge would be to be creative and find ways to attract business, and so I believe the economic development is very important, so that we create more tax revenue. I also believe that it's important to keep people, and give them a decent pay and benefits. So it is a very, very hard thing to do. But I feel like this year has been good. I know in 2018, the county was in the red, actually, and they've come out from that, and there's a pretty good surplus right now. So if we be very careful and diligent to pay attention, and that really is for the council, that's their job. We as commissioners have to understand all that, but they set that budget, and then we spend that money. So a challenge is that we have a lot of things we need to take care of. The courthouse needs tuck pointing. We have boiler and a boiler at the jail. Annex building is not in very good shape. Manlove Park, of course, we're working on trying to get that back to where it needs to be, and then to maintain that, we'll need to keep that where it needs to be so that it's always a good lake for our community to use. There are a lot of things like that. If it were all added up, what that's going to cost, we can't possibly take care of it all. So a challenge is knowing what's most important. And we have been meeting and discussing that, and I think we've got a list going, and we do have a plan. Another challenge that I see is for our department heads to really, I feel like we need more communication. Maybe more meeting. We don't have regular meetings. That's not been how things have been operated. And from where I've been in the business world and all the different places I've worked, I've understood to have regular meetings with people, and the morale will be better. And so we do have several, like I think it's 10 department heads. So to have good communication with them, and then that will trickle down for the morale, and I believe that everything as a whole would be better for us, and as far as that goes. The third thing would be just there's so much that comes. There are positions that probably we need to have help, and we can't really do that. I know Gary mentioned the roads and the highway also. Currently, I know in the future, I would like to see us have a supervisor engineer position, so that we're paying a lot of money out to engineering firms right now, and we could save a lot of money if we could get someone to come and do that position. And then with that, the state has a $40,000 reimbursement if you have an engineer, so it would definitely pay for itself. So that is a goal of mine, is to help us to move forward for our highway and the engineering, and also, like I said, the communication and good relations with our department heads, and keeping a good eye on all these projects we have with the finances to make sure we're not overspending.
All right, next question will be for you. What initiatives would you support to attract new businesses to Fayette County and support local entrepreneurs?
I didn't hear the first part.
What initiatives would you support to attract new businesses to Fayette County and support local entrepreneurs?
Well, that's an interesting question. I know that I've recently become a member of Discover Connersville Board, and that's very much about, downtown, or the area that has been designated as Discover Connersville, with an intention of supporting those businesses, drawing more business into downtown. I would love to see, I guess my vision would be to extend, I would hope that the city could get that ballpark done out the river bend, and I would love to see a hotel out there. I would love to see more growth go south. I feel like, as I've shared with others, we have all of the jewels in our county. I feel like we're a tourism spot. There's a lot of people. I go personally, even on vacation, to small towns that have a lot to offer, and I think that is our what's most valuable about Fayette County. We're not going to be industrial. I don't see that for us in the future. Not that it won't be, but I feel like if we could get a different vision for Fayette County and Connersville and work together, that's a big piece too. I'm very much about working with the city. That's why I went over to Discover also, because I think when we start collaborating and working together, then we'll have more. We'll be able to do better, and that will be a draw for any business or even people who work in other counties and will want to come and live in Fayette County. So that increases our tax revenue as well.
All right, thank you. Gary, same question. What initiatives would you support to attract new businesses to Fayette County and support local entrepreneurs?
Working with the economic development and the programs to bring in business, I'd like to stay in contact with them and do whatever I could to help bring new businesses in. I'm a fan of small businesses. I think they are a great thing, because if we get good small businesses growing, they will attract big businesses in, because the small business climate seems like they always draw in larger business around because of the workers they have. So I'm all in support of small businesses in any way I can help with that. I'm not for sure just what all kind of funds and programs that the commissioners have to work with to bring in businesses and that with. And so I'm kind of new at coming into this. I've been around the commissioners for a while. I've got to learn the programs that's out there if I get elected, which I'd like to, I dig into it, foot and soul and everything to find out just what all there is to be done and what I can use to get businesses to come in with. Other than that, I just don't know what else I could do offhand personally without, all the committees and that works on it and supporting them to bring in business.
Okay. Stay with you and ask you, how do you plan to work with other local government entities and organizations to achieve common goals?
Oh, I'd like to work with them, just as much as I can. I'm easy to get along with, unless you step on my toes, and then I kind of get a little rowdy. But I'd like to work with all the businesses, the government, any way I can to make everything work out. I think county and city has to work together. That's about the only thing I can really say. I'd work with any program they had and try to work out everything. I don't want to fight. I don't want to see the county separate from the city, and I want to see the city and the county come together and work as possibly as one on issues of bringing in businesses, expanding the community.
All right, thank you. Tracie, you alluded to some of these things, but I'll ask it again. How do you plan to work with other local government entities and organizations to achieve common goals?
Well, another thing that I noted as being a commissioner is that we don't have planned regular, even annual meetings with our council. And I think that's a very important thing that we need to begin to do to understand better our roles and work together. And then to add to that, when we're more united in understanding where we are, then I believe I also plan to, actually even this year, have a couple from the council and myself meet with the mayor and, we need to communicate and decide on interlocal agreements. That hasn't been done. I think it was 2008 when it was actually sat down and done. So the relationships haven't been the best there, and it isn't lying obviously on the mayor now, but he's also very willing, and he's been coming to our commissioner meetings, which is really good. So our relationships are already starting to be more compatible, and we do see it as working together, and that's really good. I have great hope for that, and I believe when that happens, we really will see a lot of more change and more growth and community involvement. Everything will just be better.
All right, thank you. Gary, closing statement.
Let's see. Decisions I would make as a commissioner, I would have to leave my personal feelings out of them and make them according to what would be good for the county and the citizens of Fayette County. I said I can't let personal feelings get involved in issues. Just have to let them go and try to communicate with the citizens and the county and on issues that would come up to figure out what would be the best method of solving problems or issues. I'm going to say, for one example, would be like the windmills or solar systems. I'd have to listen to both sides. I could not let my personal feelings get involved in it, and I'd have to do what the county folks would want in that prospect. And then on the other hand, I'd have to look at the figures and that and see what the tax dollars would be that they could possibly bring in to help the county in a way where it could possibly lower their property tax. So I'd have to look on both sides and listen to both sides of it in order to make decisions. And that's the way I'd want to do on all issues, is look down the issue and then take both sides of it and figure out what's the best way to go.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Tracie, closing statement?
I thought about this because I knew this would be a question. I remember it's been almost 3 years ago that I went down to the Republican headquarters and stood with 2 other men before the precinct committee and shared in, I think it was 2 minutes, you know, why they would choose me to be the commissioner. And the one thing that kept coming to my mind is, number one, I'm not a politician. So the difference in a politician and a statesman, a politician does what they do in order to, everything they do and decisions they make is to be elected or gain power. And a statesman is someone who does everything with the good, what's best for the people that have him or her in that position. And that is something I do, as just as Gary said, that's really good, to listen to people. Even if I have the beginning of a thought, I don't think I would like this, I always want to give opportunity for what's really best for Fayette County, what's best for Fayette County and Connersville, what's best for my neighbor, what's best for my family. You know, it's all those things coming together. So I don't make a decision based on just what's best for me, which is what a politician, I'm sorry. I don't like that politician stuff. So I'm very much wanting to be a person who brings change. So with that, it isn't, I think that's what it requires. And politicians are too much about an agenda. And so consideration, back to that, is to be willing to listen and not be quick to make a decision unless it's obviously known, you know, right or wrong. But also to have integrity. Integrity is the first and foremost important thing to me, and this is something else I also shared at that first meeting. You know, decisions that we make have to be based on something also. So, you know, even our forefathers, the Word of God was there for the commandments even. So you have that, and then you have your Constitution, and you have your laws of your land, and then you have your state laws, and then you have codes and ordinances. And then as commissioners, we're responsible to actually be the ones making some ordinances, you know. And so it can be hard sometimes to, if we do this, it's settled, you know. So we need to take the time, and that was one reason why the moratorium was also decided on for the solar project. You know, that was a hard thing, but it needed to be done, and I know that we were getting pressed on both sides, so that stuff happens. But when you really think about what's best for the whole and look at your county and know what the lie of the land is, who we really are, you know, so much to factor in. So that goes into the knowledge part. And so the more I've gained knowledge, a lot of it has been from other people who've been past commissioners. I call them. I also call neighboring county commissioners that I've gotten relationships with. I go to the conferences. I just not, I guess, us four no more mentality here at a table, because I have said I don't know, you know, and you have to be willing to say you don't know, admit when you make mistakes. And I just feel like the more that we would all do that, the better we could all be and work together also. So I am very thankful that for the almost 3 years now that I've had experience that I've had, and based on a decision I made to just decide to commit to this, and like I said, even sacrifice something I love, which is my catering business, all for the purpose of doing this work, because I see that it's bigger than I've had time for. And so my plan is to be in that courthouse even more, and to work towards the unity within those department heads and us and elected officials also, with good communication and the ability to see the vision for the future for Fayette County and not be reactive. There's a lot of stuff's been reactive, and that's not very popular with me. I don't appreciate that. So I had a lot of things I had to work through in my own emotions. You know, you get upset or you get angry. But I know there's a great John Maxwell statement that he says that hope has two sisters, and one's anger and one's courage. And when you get upset enough about something, and then you have to also have the courage to do something about it. And I feel like I very much am. I'm that. That's just what I just see something and I want to make it right, or do what I can do. So that's why I made the decision to run, and I'm hopeful that the constituents of Fayette County will also see that I have been working, and we've made some great progress so far. And it's going to continue. So I'm hopeful.
All right. Thank you both. We'll be right back with the candidates for County Council at Large. We are back with the candidates for the office of County Council at Large. There are 3 open seats available in this race with 6 candidates. Those candidates are Republican incumbent Scott Bevington, Republican Gabe Nobbe, Republican incumbent Riker Peyton, Democrat Brian Durham, Democrat Jay Haviland, and Democrat Vane Lashua. We will start with opening statements to my left. Scott, your opening statement, please.
Sure. My name is Scott Bevington. I grew up here. My wife Diana and I have 4 children ranging in age from 26, almost 27 to 35, and 3 grandchildren. It's been my honor to serve as your county councilman for the next 4 years, or for the last 4 years. You know, I'm still in this because 2 of our 4 kids still live here, and 3, those 2 are the ones that have our 3 grandchildren. So as long as they're here, I'm going to be in the fight trying to help make our community a better place. So I'd appreciate your support down the road.
Thank you, Gabe.
Hi, my name is Gabe Nobbe. I'm a longtime resident of Fayette County, born and raised here. The only time I was gone is when I went to college, and I came back right after that. I teach out at the high school and teach agriculture. Run the FFA program. I've done that for the past 23 years. I got 2 children, beautiful and super smart. I got a beautiful wife who's also now joined the teaching ranks, so I kind of got her into that one. And I figured I've also served as a city council for 2 terms, and I got out of it after 2 terms because I thought that was long enough. And I've been out for 4 years, and I thought that maybe I have something to offer to the county government. My dad served for a long time, so I got a pretty fair understanding of it. And for the voters out there, I think people know who I am. And if you like me, you vote for me. If you don't, that's okay too. We can still be friends.
All right, thanks, Gabe. Kay?
Hi, thanks Sam for having us here tonight. I'm Riker Peyton, lifelong resident of Fayette County. I'm an incumbent on the county council. I've enjoyed it immensely, being a public servant and helping my community. Born and raised here. I have a business degree from Indiana Wesleyan, and I'm a grant writer, currently funded by DMHA, and my son is in med school on his own dime. And I have brought 10 grants to the community over this past 10 years, and I can't think of anything else besides I love doing what I do.
All right, thank you. Brian?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. My name is Brian Durham. I nearly lifelong resident, like everyone else has been, except for my time in college and when I thought it a good idea to try to be a cowboy in Montana, which did not work out for me. I'm married to my wife, Hannah. We have a lovely daughter, June. Part of the reason that I've wanted to be involved in local government is I want my daughter to live here, enjoy the same opportunities that I had. Previously, I served as Vice President of the Redevelopment Commission for the City of Connersville. I served as Area Planning President for 7 years. I enjoyed my time there. I thought we got a lot of work done, working with the commissioners on various projects to move us forward into the 21st century. Currently, I'm a teacher at Union County Middle School and a law school student, so I have a lot on my plate, but more than happy to serve my community.
All right, thanks, Brian. Jay?
My name is Jay Haviland. I'm a lifelong resident of Fayette County. I currently work for the Fayette County Highway Department. I'm a supervisor down there. I've been employed with the county system since 1980, and I enjoy doing the work, and I enjoy all the people in the council members and all of them. I get along with all of them. I don't have a problem with them, and I like working with the county people. I'd like to continue that if I could. But I'm going to retire at the end of this year, so that's why I'm trying to do this.
All right, thank you. Vane?
My name's Vane Lashua, Carl Vane Lashua, and I was raised here. My mother and father were in the Army together, and we moved back and forth from California to Connersville, and I grew up in Connersville, graduated from CHS. Just had our 60th high school class reunion, and I'm now engaged to a woman I met at my 50th high school class reunion, and we're living nicely here. I have one daughter who lives in New York. I went to Indiana University and then Western Kentucky University for masters, and then I worked in different places, went to New York and lived there for 40 years, and that's why I came back. I met Terry, my fiance, at the 50th high school class reunion, and she wanted to come to New York, and I wanted to come back to Connersville, so here I am. I've been on the library board, the parks board, and have enjoyed working with people on that kind of substance. The council position came open, and I signed up for it. That's why I'm here, and I really have enjoyed working with people, leaders in the community, and with our citizens, and I hope that I can help in using my perspective as well as my my smile to help the community along. And the council sounds to me like a great place to do that.
All right, thank you very much. We'll get into the questions now, and first question will go to Scott. The job of county council member is that of fiscal oversight of the county. With that in mind, what strategies do you support for boosting economic development and attracting new business?
Well, one of the things that I've done over the last couple of years in being on the Economic Development Group board is talk to the board about some issues that I thought they had that I thought we could do better about. And one of those was improving the relationship between the mayor's office and the Economic Development Group. And that has started to pay off. The Economic Development Group was crucial in the negotiations to bring Nova here. And in 2026, their payroll will be millions more than we've ever spent on economic development. I don't know of any other department in county government or city government that has had the same amount of money, same amount of public assistance for 30 years that economic development has. And I was proud to lead the effort to, from the council side, to finally give them a little raise. Now is not the time for us to back off. And so I'll be working with that board further to do more things to make sure we can keep the progress going.
All right, thank you, Scott. Gabe, the job of county council member is that of fiscal oversight of the county. With that in mind, what strategies do you support for boosting economic development and attracting new business?
Well, I think the most important thing is to have a government that is fiscally responsible. And they create an environment where we have fiscal responsibility so that we can create an environment that the businesses are more likely to be attracted to. I also think that we have to conduct ourselves in a way that is very professional, as a way that would be a good representation not only to our community members, but also those that are potential future community members, like our maybe do businesses and things. So that means while we're in meetings, that we conduct ourselves with decorum at all times, and that we act extremely professional. And I would always bring that to the table.
All right, thank you. K, the job of county council member is that of fiscal oversight of the county. With that in mind, what strategies do you support for boosting economic development and attracting new businesses?
Well, I agree with both what Gabe and Scott have said. And this last budget cycle, we put $100,000 in for economic development. I would like to see the city to contribute, and that we could boost it even more. And Scott is actually our representative on the EDG board for the council. So everything he has said, he represents it well. So, and then he reports back to us after their meetings. And but I do think we could make it even better because currently now the county is the only one that gives the $100,000. So if the city would throw in $100,000, then we could boost it even more. But again, that would be discussion that had taken place between the mayor and commissioners and our president of the council. So.
All right, thank you. Move on to Brian. Same question. The job of county council member is that of fiscal oversight of the county. With that in mind, what strategies do you support for boosting economic development and attracting businesses?
Yeah, well, I'll have to reiterate Scott's point, making sure communication between both the city and the county, open door of communication. I was fortunate when with Nova to be part of the redevelopment commission when we were negotiating with them. We worked on that project, and kudos to Mayor Frank on that for almost 3 years of back and forth and were we going to get it, were we not going to get it, and it was almost every meeting where, well, there's this place in Texas that has an opportunity to take them from us. What are you offering? And working with the IEDC to be in the forefront of that. The IEDC is a great resource that the state of Indiana has. Unfortunately, I felt like rural communities have been ignored by the IEDC, but I'm also a believer that squeaky wheel gets the grease. So the more times that you're at the top of the pile when projects come through to the state, you got to check all the boxes. Some intern is looking through the applications when they come through from the state. You got to make sure that you're checking those boxes so that you're the first one that they call when a project comes about. That's the most important thing. From the state side, the Nova project didn't come that way. That was somebody knew somebody. So building relationships, I think relationship building is the number one way to build an economy. To get new jobs. Also, most new job growth comes from within. So working with our businesses on tax incentives. Right now, personal property tax, I know the state of Indiana was looking at eliminating personal property tax. Sometimes that's something that you can use to your advantage to help a business grow. If that's taken away from us at the state level, that's one more tool in the toolkit that the state doesn't want to give us anymore. So it's finding that balance and having open lines of communication between both the city of Connersville and Fayette County.
All right, thank you. Jay, same question. The job of county council member is that of fiscal oversight. With that in mind, what strategies do you support for boosting economic development and attracting new business?
Well, I agree with the other candidates, and they sound like they've been doing a lot of things to try to help the county. But I would like to just keep an open mind and pay attention to everything that's coming across the board and work with the other candidates to make sure everything goes the right way.
All right, thank you. And Vane, finally, the job of county council member is that of fiscal oversight of the county. With that in mind, what strategies do you support for boosting economic development and attracting new business?
When I grew up, as I grew up a young man, our family working printing company, I worked for Philco, for D&M, for a number of people doing the printing. We had a really healthy economy at that point. Today, as I was coming back to Connersville, I see the downtown Connersville is being developed better and better. It's growing and growing. It's attractive as a town. Location is fantastic between some larger cities, and we have the opportunity here to host economic development for larger companies. And I think that's one of the things we need to focus on, is go out and tell them what a nice place this is, people we have to work here, and what our past has hosted the larger companies. We know how to do it, and it's part of our background. And again, the area where we are is relatively inexpensive to host a larger company. We've got wonderful people. We can draw from all the larger places around us if we want to. And that's why I think we need to host more economic development through the growing companies around us. Connersville is a really nice place to have a business. It's shown that in the past, and that's what I'm hoping we can develop, and I'd very much like to help do that.
All right, thank you, Vane. Next question will go to Brian. What are your plans for improving public safety and emergency services in Fayette County?
Yeah, something that was glaring to me, I serve on the emergency management response team, and Wade, in one of our meetings, told us that our SWAT team did not have SWAT gear. EMA wrote a grant in order to get them SWAT gear. So I don't know what gear we were sending our SWAT team out with, but apparently it wasn't SWAT gear. So that's a huge red flag. And making sure that our first responders have all the equipment they need, and also looking towards the future when changes come through communications, because we have a system where some people have 800 radios and some people don't have 800 radios, and sometimes not everybody can hear everything that's going on interdepartment wise, and that can create problems. So we got to make sure we address those problems and have the funding to address those problems with our first responders, and working with even our township trustees to get more funding to our rural fire departments, looking for things that the state offers and grant writing opportunities for from our trustees to our fire departments. There's plenty of opportunity to work together within our fire districts, and public safety from a perspective looking at, from what Mr. Walling had told me, it was kind of a scary thought that we're sending people out with inadequate equipment, and if that's one instance, and it might be the only instance, but I'm a big planner, having a plan to fund things, to replace things when they come up, not relying that, oh, this Homeland Security grant existed 5 years ago, let's use it again, and you go to use it again and that Homeland Security grant doesn't exist anymore. So you have to plan ahead for the potential that it's not there. So that's, when it comes to public safety, that's how I would address it.
All right. Thanks, Brian. Jay, what are your plans for improving public safety and emergency services in Fayette County?
I think we need to make sure they all have all the updated equipment they need. Any way we can get it, we need to find funding for that, and we need to keep them in updated equipment. Because you can't do the job if you don't have the right kind of equipment to do it. It's like working at the highway department. You got to have the right equipment to do the job you want to do. And if you have to go looking for grants for funding for them, there's all kinds of avenues you can go into to look for funding, but you just have to research them all and find them.
All right, thank you. Vane, same question. What are your plans for improving public safety and emergency services here in Fayette County?
I think I agree very much Brian's position, and we obviously need the best equipment, most updated equipment. And another thing to do is to educate people around the emergency situations. Why do we have, if we have fires, if we have weather problems or weather issues, we have to respond. And I think we've done it in the past, and I think this is it's just keeping up to date with the equipment, and the people to move on, to move with it. And I don't know. I think another thing is economic development would also would help to fund that kind of equipment, that kind of background, because you want to say, I've got the equipment here, and we can support you and the people you bring, the equipment, the kinds of equipment you bring. And I know I'm just yakking, but I think what we've all said, I guess, is we can do that. We need the updated equipment. We need to move on, and that's
all right.
That's good.
Thanks, Vane. Same question to you, Scott. What are your plans for improving public safety and emergency services here in the county?
Well, there's a number of things. We have a challenge here in Fayette County because county government, most local government, or local government in general, is funded based on assessed valuation. And if you look at our assessed valuation compared to our population, we have less valuation to spend per person than 89 of our 92 counties. We're pretty poor. And we've done a really good job over the last several years in taking us from the brink of bankruptcy to having right now about $3 million in a rainy day fund. Now, because we've been blessed with this reserve, we've got to be careful. We have to exert a lot of discipline. But we found ourselves in a situation where our 911 operators, our jail officers, our deputies were a little bit too underpaid compared to communities our size throughout Indiana, whether if you're looking at a population of between 20 and 25,000, or communities around us, contiguous to us. And so we gave them significant increases during the last budget cycle. Also, and so I think that's important, that we pay well the people that take care of us and protect us. Another thing I will say is that I did oppose the recent passage of the public safety tax. Now, that was done by the city council. By law, all they had to do was pass it, and it didn't matter what the county council thought. It was kind of a pass-through type of thing. But I did vote against it because it raised our income taxes to the 4th highest in Indiana, and I thought that was way too much. But you win some, you lose some, and so we're going to get that money. I thought it was terribly important that we take some of that money and make sure that our volunteer fire departments get it. Because if the city ever gets a wild hair and wants to merge the EMS and the fire department, we have to make sure our volunteer fire departments are ready to go. Now, I do think in the future we may need to put some stipulations with that about how they use that money. But I was glad to see that we were able to get most of what I thought they should get of that money too. So from a public safety standpoint, I think making sure our people are well paid and that our volunteer fire departments are prepared as much as possible is the best thing we can do.
All right, thanks. Gabe, what are your plans for improving public safety and emergency services in Fayette County?
Well, we're kind of toward the end here, so I think everything's been said, but I'm going to say it a different way, so that'll make it sound really good, right? So, first thing, I think one of the most important things that everyone should do, from a household budget to the federal government, everyone should establish a plan for the future, all right? They always say a failure to plan is a plan to fail, and I believe that's wholly true. So we know that police cars will run out. There's a lifespan to those. We know that all equipment, not just cars, but all equipment has a lifespan to it. So I believe that we should establish non-reverting funds to start planning for those things. So if we know that a police vehicle runs $35,000, we should put back a portion of money, $5,000 a year for 7 years, to have that for one car. And we could do that for multiple cars, so we'd have to actually dig deeper into that plan. And we also have to have a schedule of replacement. So like, how often should these things be replaced? What's the lifespan of those things? And that schedule should be set up by the department heads, maintained, and the government should fund those. And now I understand that trying to fund those while also putting out fires is a terribly difficult thing. And that's where we look at grants and things like that to help provide that initial income, that initial boost, that money to pay for those things that are the emergency issues. But then we should establish some sort of non-reverting fund where we set back a bit of money every year for that. I also really like what they've done with the salaries to keep them competitive. We're only as good as our people. You can have the best equipment in the world, but if you don't have the people to run it, it's not worth anything. So we need to keep and maintain our people and not have constant turnover. So I like what we've done with the salaries, and I hope that we continue to make those competitive with our surrounding counties.
All right, thanks, Gabe. Kay, how do you, or what are your plans for improving public safety and emergency services here in the county?
Okay. Well, we actually just did some improvements. We gave the volunteer fire department $150,000, and we gave our 911 and our sheriff's department some nice raises because we don't want that experience to walk out the door and go to another county, because you want to know that you call 911, you want to know they're going to be there. You want to know that they're going to be there when you call. That is pertinent. You can't put price on a life. So we gave them good raises so they'll stay, because we don't want the experience and knowledge walking out the door, because that is very critical in those two fields, because not everyone is cut out to be a sheriff's deputy, and not everyone is cut out to be a 911 operator and also EMA. It takes a certain kind of person to do that. It's not like other jobs. You have to want to do that type of work, and so we don't want to lose them. So we did give good raises, and we gave the volunteer fire department the money they desperately needed, because they have new regulations that they're being hit with from OSHA. And I know that some of them had told us if they don't get the money that they needed, they were going to possibly have to shut down. That's how critical the money is that they needed to keep going forward because of all the new OSHA rules. And I do agree, I think the trustees, because it's in the state code, the trustees should help with the volunteer fire department a little bit more than they do. And we've also funded the EMA. We've given him some more tools in his tool belt. And I do know that the fire departments, they already apply for grants as much as they can. And we have the sheriff's department. We do have a cycle for them as far as when they buy the vehicles. They have a plan, and we have some money set back. So I think that with the raises and the money that we were able to give them through the budget we just adopted, I think we're already on that road.
All right. Thank you. The third question will go to Gabe. How do you see the county evolving over the next decade, and what steps would you take to prepare for these changes?
Well, that's a tough question.
Yeah, that's a tough question.
I think we can expect a lot of the same thing we've seen in the last decade. We're going to see mass change. I don't know that we'll see, that we'll even understand how big the change could be. Technology is developing rapidly, and we got to make sure that we keep in touch with that and keep that in the forefront of everything we do. And I think that's one big thing that we got to make sure that we do. Also, I think that there are some opportunities that are going to be out there, because we're seeing a lot of people now work from home, work from mobile issues, mobile ways, and even traveling maybe a day or two to work. I have a friend that works in Batesville, or lives in Batesville, and drives to the northwest side of Indianapolis 2 days a week, and then works the other days from home. Those are becoming more commonplace. So if we can develop our community into being just an outstanding place to live, even better so than it already is, and it's a great place as it is, I think we could attract a lot of residents to help improve not only our normal surroundings, but also to increase those property values, so then you would see those revenues increase, and then hopefully have a more sound footing for our government.
Thanks. Okay, how do you see the county evolving over the next decade, and what steps would you take to prepare for those changes?
Well, that's a very, very subjective question. I would say off the top, I think already right now, I think we have to keep our eye, no pun intended, I think we have to keep our eye on AI. That's going to shift everything. I'm not for sure if it's going to be good or bad, but it is going to be a very, very big thing. It's going to change everything. I can't even envision how it's going to change, because it's already doing it now. I mean, Brian's had kids that turns in papers and they're using AI. I mean, I know my cousin said that in the family practice, he said it's going to go away because of AI. So I think that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on, because it's going to really change our world. I'm not for sure which direction it will go. I think it's going to be hard to really predict that, but just, I guess the only thing we can really do is to stay on top of the legislation and what they're doing, pay attention to what they're doing up there, because they dictate everything we do. So we just got to really pay attention.
All right, thank you. Brian, how do you see the county evolving over the next decade, and what steps would you take to prepare for those changes?
Well, I think there will be not just the community. I think the whole world will change a lot in the next decade, but particularly for for Fayette County, one of the things that I find most interesting when I talk to people, they talk about how old of a community we are and how we tend to be in that 65 plus. And I noticed today that more than half of our population is under 44 years old. So we don't have an aged population. Half the people are 0 to 44 years old. But what we have is a situation where our rules don't allow for somebody to build smaller homes for people to want to sell their large home. They're an empty nester. They stay in their home because it's their home and they have no other option. They don't want to leave here. Our county's rules when it comes to building a house, 1,080 square feet is the minimum size for a dwelling, and it's been that way since 1993. And we've done nothing to change that in that time. I think the opportunity for that population, that 47% of the population who maybe want to downsize but don't, because they don't have an option, are looking for another option, and using our area planning commission to change those rules to allow builders to build homes that are smaller, so that those people sell their homes, which opens opportunities for people my age. You know, I'm 34 years old. I'd like to buy another house in the not so distant future. That also increases tax revenue, because if somebody has an old age exemption, we're getting less money from their property tax, so that exemption falls off. I'll end up paying more in taxes as a result, and I'm happy to pay more in taxes as a result if it means more opportunities for our older population and people just starting off, young couples who want a small house, to provide those opportunities. So in addition to that, I think more work from home opportunities where you can live anywhere you want and work anywhere you want. And during COVID, one of the things that we changed when I was president of area planning, technically it was a zoning code violation to work from home in Fayette County. Not that it was readily enforced, but easily could have been enforced. We had some old language from the 90s that a home occupation, regardless of what it was, if you were working out of your house, you were in violation of the zoning code. We worked to change that. It was a pretty easy change. I think everybody sitting on that area planning board looked at each other and was like, "Oh, this is stupid. We should change this rule." And you got to go through the process and the public hearing and all that. So it took up 2.5 months to get the rule changed, because nothing's fast in government. But I thought that was a good thing that we were able to do. So yeah, I look to the future. I would like to see more people move in. Anytime somebody moved in when I was chamber director, I tried to go out of my way. If a realtor told me that, hey, this person just moved here from Texas, hey, this person just moved here from Washington, I would try to go out of my way to introduce myself to them and welcome them to the community. And I think if more people did that, people would stay longer and show people that we're a very welcoming community and build for the future.
All right, thank you. Jay, how do you see the county evolving over the next decade, and what steps would you take to prepare for those changes?
I think as a group, as the council and the commissioners who had to pay attention to what's going on around them, everything's changing, because since I've been down to the highway department for 40 years, I've seen a lot of changes in the last 40 years. Things get better, and then they kind of slide back the other way, and then they get better again. And you got to pay attention to what's going on around you. You got to pay attention to all the changes coming at you, because there's going to be a lot of different things going on, because everything's getting way more complicated than what I can understand a lot of times.
Yes, it is. All right, Vane, same question. How do you see the county evolving over the next decade, and what steps would you take to prepare for those changes?
I think my heritage there was interesting, because my family just celebrated a 200-year anniversary for a farm where it's lived, and the state, granted a nice little plaque for that. But meanwhile, the family has made the farm into a very profitable, and I use that widely, operation. I mean, it's been successful for the families and the generations that have come. And I think that's the way we have to look at change is inevitable. We're going to have change. But meanwhile, our tools will change, our approach will change, our opportunities will be open to us in different ways. And I think that's what we have to move with. Change is good. it makes things work better sometimes. Sometimes it causes you to run into the wrong way. But it's inevitably we are situated where we can support those people who've been here a long time. And again, as Brian said, encourage people to buy into a new way of living. I mean, everything is changing. And Brian's 34, I'm 78, and it's a long perspective onto the county. I'm sorry, I'm yakking, but I really have a lot of hope, and I think the people in the county can work together to make the future a nice prospect for all of us.
If I can throw a couple cents in here. Years ago, I worked for Mayor Bastian, and one of his sayings that he said a lot of times at meetings was that the thing that people fear most is change, but without change, there's no progress. Mm-hmm. And he was a visionary. And anyway, back to this. Scott, same question. How do you see the county evolving over the next decade, and what steps would you take to prepare for these changes?
That was a nice memory. Sam and I, we were pallbearers at Mayor Bastian's funeral, so he was a good man. I want to add a little technical aspect to this, because I think we got to stay on our lane here when we're talking about the office that we're seeking. In Indiana County government, the commissioners are the executive body and legislative body. We're the fiscal body. We affect policy by either choosing to reduce what is being proposed or eliminating that opportunity to fund it altogether. That's the only way we can affect policy in this job. Now, as far as people have talked about change, well, there's only 3 constants in life: death, taxes, and change. The only difference about change is who's going to affect that change, you or somebody else. If somebody else does it, they're not going to care what you think. So we have to do it. And technology is definitely going to be a part of that change. Now, with change comes growing pains, and it can be painful and uncomfortable, but you got to do it. And there may be opportunities where we have folks work from their home down the road. It just may be required. AI is absolutely here. I'm in the financial services industry, and we're having to pivot to go away from just advising people about how to handle their retirement to actual financial planning, more comprehensive, because AI is here. It would take me an hour and a half to put somebody's a new portfolio together, and today I can do it with a push of a button, and it's up in 30 seconds. It is amazing what AI can and will do. Yes, there are pitfalls here, and they're kind of scary, but it will change business, and it will change how government does business, and those that are supportive of that change are going to move faster, and we have to move faster. Another thing that I'd like to be able to support is continuing improvement in quality of life issues, because I know that's something that Mayor Frank has really focused a lot on in terms of economic development, and he's absolutely right. We have to do that, and one of the things I did on the Economic Development Board was support an effort that helped the city and the Economic Development Group figure out when festivals happen, figure out where people are coming from. And it's through a computer program that pings from their cell phone, pings from people's cell phone. It's amazing. And that is one of the things that we can do from a county council perspective to be helpful in moving that change along. And I'll continue to do that.
All right, thank you. This brings us to our final question for the council. And this one goes to Jay. He'll start off. What do you consider the biggest challenges facing Fayette County, and how would you address them as a council member?
Well, I think the biggest challenges is keeping the population in Fayette County, because you've got people moving all the time and trying to find better jobs. And the only way we can keep them here is have jobs here for them. So we have to keep working as hard as we can to get new jobs in here to keep people employed and keep the money flowing so they can support their families. I think that's the biggest thing.
Okay, thank you. Vane, what do you consider to be the biggest challenge facing Fayette County, and how would you address them as a council member?
I agree very much. I think we need to attract the businesses that can help us move along. I think we need to work with people to grow and with the change that's in front of them, and that means lots of things in terms of education, in terms of working together. And I'm hoping that as we've evolved, we can take from that. I threw hay bales up in the top of a barn and a long time ago, and now the machines all do it. That's the same sort of thing that's going to happen. And yet, the people who are doing it are now working in the same. They're working in the same industry, but they've moved along in the way they do it and what they expect.
Thank you, Vane. Scott, what do you consider to be the biggest challenges facing Fayette County, and how will you address them as a council member?
Well, one of the, again, supporting quality of life issues, because that's key to new economic development, keeping people here, attracting people here. 80% of economic development is retaining the jobs we already have, encouraging entrepreneurship. When I had the economic development job, one of the things we did when I got here, we just had tax abatement. So we went about new economic development incentives, and one of those incentives was a loan program for new businesses, trying to get those moving forward. I mean, if you think about Connersville's history, most of the people that started the huge industries here lived here. It grew from within. So we have to encourage that kind of entrepreneurship, and that's one of the things that we'll be working on in the economic development group, I hope, is building on that base entrepreneurship. And area planning has its place. I mean, there are things that we need to do that can be constructive to encourage new residents. And of course, if there's new residents, then that lessens the tax burden for everyone. And we have our tax burden's pretty heavy here, so we need to fix that.
Thanks, Scott. Gabe, what do you consider to be the biggest challenges facing Fayette County, and how would you address them as a council member?
Well, one of the biggest challenges I think that we face at Fayette County is something that I think that we all face in Indiana. This, I think, is going to be fairly recent or fairly soon. Right now, both governor candidates at the state are proposing the removal of some sort of taxes for property tax, and that's where most of local government's funded from. So I think we can't control that decision. The state legislature will, and if they make that decision, we have to have an influence on our legislators at the state to make sure that there is a method that is logical and sound to fund local government. I abhor taxes. I hate property tax. I think it's one of the silliest things ever invented. But also, I believe that the most important taxes are the ones that are local. The most important governments are the ones that are local. They can affect your life the most. So we have to find a way to allow our county and city governments and our local governments to be funded if the property tax were to be removed, which I gotta say I would love to get rid of property tax. I know, in general, property tax is the silliest thing. You own something, then you have to pay because you own it. But I think there definitely needs to be a way to do that, to pay for the local government. Another thing I think we need to do is we need to really focus on retaining and developing our local talent. Every year at the high school, I see many students graduate. They leave the high school, and some of them I never see again because they move away. And unfortunately, it's some of our best and brightest. And I'd love to see a way that we develop those folks avenues for them to stay here, incentives for them to stay here, so they can develop those companies in the future. Maybe they develop the best AI in the world, and now Connersville is the big hub of the entire world. That would be fantastic, right? So I think that's probably one of the biggest things, if just like a big pie in the sky idea, is a way to retain those folks and develop their talents.
Thanks, Gabe. Kay, what do you consider to be the biggest challenges facing Fayette County, and how would you address them as a council member?
Taxes is definitely an issue. But from a county councilman purpose, I'm very limited to affect that challenge that we have. I can advocate. We can all advocate to our legislation. That's the biggest thing that we can do, because, like Gabe said, the things that they're talking about, we don't know how it's going to all pan out with the new governor coming in and what they're talking about. And taxes is a problem. But I do think that we need more people in our community. We need to attract people to come here, because our population has shrunk so badly. We need more jobs so we can alleviate some of the taxes from the people. And I also think that something that we could advocate for is to try to get the legislation to change the property tax reform that they did in 2008, when they went away from the true tax value of a home, and now they do assessed value based on the market value. That's why everyone's assessments went through the roof. That's a major issue for every person in this county, well, the whole entire state. We need to advocate to put that back so that their assessment values are not through the roof, because the assessor is told by the state codes to use this particular formula to calculate the assessed value. So he's restricted as well, and that goes with our job and everything. Everything we do has rules, state codes, state statutes, the Constitution. There's so many rules involved that people don't understand that we have little latitude. We're very restricted. We have money over here, we have money sitting here, and money sitting here, but you can't use it anywhere but here, or anywhere but here. It's not, our job as county council is not what people realize that it really is. And like the best way I could to describe, to give you an analogy of what it would be like to be like in Jane's shoes, and we just get parts of what Jane does. Jane, imagine you had a 40-book encyclopedia set, and you had to memorize that 40-book encyclopedia set. That's how many rules and regulations are involved with the auditor's office and the state code and the Constitution. There's tons of rules. I mean, I think the state needs to quit band-aiding things and rewrite the whole state statute codes, because they're too old. They don't match up with society. So I think we need to advocate to our local legislation some of these things that need to change and match our society to what it is now, not what it was 100 or 200 years ago. And just like Brian has said, with the zoning and the airplane, those I don't know how many they got up to date, but there's a lot on there I know that was out of date. But those are the things I think need to happen. We have to just advocate to our local legislators to hear our, make sure that we're heard, because little towns like this are probably going to suffer from some of the changes they're talking about. I mean, nobody likes taxes, but you know, you don't want to go under either. So it's a very difficult to navigate through all the codes and legislation, and it's just very difficult.
All right, thank you. Brian, same question. What do you consider to be the biggest challenges facing Fayette County, and how would you address them as a council member?
You know, to reiterate what some of the other candidates have said, I think our biggest challenge, and many small towns' biggest challenges, are the state legislature. You know, the dirty truth of Indiana politics is you have to play by the legislature's rules to get your own money back. You know, we have a state legislature that touts a multi-billion-dollar surplus, but God forbid they give it back to the people who pay it to their accountants. They set rules, and you got to play by their rules to get money that you should be entitled to anyway. So and it's been that way at least since the Daniels administration, to play this game of, oh yeah, we have this surplus, but here are all these other departments of the executive branch that are going to create all these rules for all these cities and counties and townships to get their own money back that they should be entitled to anyway. So our biggest challenge as a county is working with as a state legislature who sees that and understands, like, it's our money, it's the taxpayers' money, and we want it back. Because I'm with Gabe. I think that our county council, any person up here, I think is more equipped to spend our tax dollars than some bureaucrat sitting in Indianapolis. I think they can make way better decisions. I think Kay, myself, Jay, any of us could make way better decisions than somebody sitting in an office in Indianapolis, and that's our biggest problem. In addition to that, locally, things that we can control, to reiterate what Kay says, is updating our rules that we have in the county and making it as simple as possible for somebody to want to invest in our community. With that investment comes the potential of tax dollars. They build a house, they're going to pay property taxes on it, and it alleviates a very small percentage on everybody because of the way the caps work. So when somebody builds a large building, it kind of very minutely flattens it across the board for everyone else, because that's the way the state has mandated it to work. We have lots of issues that are beyond the control of the office of county council, and the biggest thing that we can do, like I said before, squeaky wheel gets the grease. Show the problems, because I know we're not alone. I can think of several governor initiatives in the last 2 years, maybe a little longer than that, where talking to other communities who, when programs came out at the state level, they signed up for it, but when you talk to them outside of the room, they're like, yeah, we really didn't want to do this, but we're trying to play the game. And unfortunately, for a very long time, Fayette County has been the county that doesn't play the game, and it's uncomfortable to play the game of politics. But if I hate to be the person to say if everybody else is doing it, but if everybody is doing it and they're being successful at it, maybe we should mimic what other communities are doing to be successful.
All right, thank you. Time now for closing statements, and we'll start with Vane.
I really appreciate the opportunity, but I think the developments that I've gone through in my life have helped me to retain a perspective that change happens, and we move with it and we help it along so that it's satisfactory for everybody. Now, that's too general. With Fayette County, we have a really wonderful environment. You've got a potential, tremendous potential based on our land, our people, and our past. And it's something we need to just keep moving with. And I hope I can help with that, with the perspective.
Thank you. Scott?
Well, thank everybody who put this together tonight. Thank you, Sam. When you're little, many of us dream of what we'll be when we get older. A lawyer, a doctor, professional athlete. For me, I wanted to do two things. I wanted to play basketball for the Connersville Spartans, and for lack of a better term, be a public servant. Well, I was never good enough to play at the Grand Palace on Grand. But this community gave me the opportunity to, in a small way, live a little boy's dream. So I thank you for that. It's been an honor over the last 4 years. I told you why I'm doing this, for my kids, my grandkids. There's a quote that really has resonated with me over the years. A few years ago, I got the chance to explore Louisville, Kentucky, and I went exploring in this historic cemetery where a lot of famous people are buried, and one of them is Muhammad Ali, who is buried there. He was from Louisville. And the quote on his tombstone is, service to others is the rent you pay for your room in heaven. And so I hope we all, no matter who takes these offices in the next 4 years, keeps that in mind and emphasizes the servant part of public service. Thanks.
Thank you. Gabe?
Well, I just want to thank you yourself for doing this and all the staff here to putting this on. It's a good event. It's a good way for the public to see everybody. And I just want to reiterate, I think the biggest job we got is to make sure that the budget is sound, that we have a good fiscal footing for our government, and that I will work hard to do that in anything I do if I were to be elected. I appreciate everyone's vote if they decide to vote for me. If they don't, that's okay too. We're still friends.
All right, thanks, Gabe. Kay?
Well, before I forget, I just want everyone to know out there that they can go online to DLGF. You can access any of the numbers you want to see about any county, any taxing unit in this county or any county in the state. DLGF, just so everyone knows that. It's open to that portal is open to the public. So I want to say that before I forgot. So first off, this job is not for everybody. If you don't do your homework and invest yourself into the job, you're just going to be a person sitting there in a chair. Personally, before I ran, I attended the meetings 2 years prior just to watch and listen. I soon discovered it was a very complex job. So experience matters. Experience that you can trust, and you have to have a dedicated mindset. You need to attend all the state meetings, attend the online webinars, they also have AIC council classes specifically for county council that you can attend and pay for. I pay for them for my own. But you've got to take this job serious if you want to be effective. And I've enjoyed doing this. I love serving my community. And I want to thank everyone here tonight, especially you, Sam, for hosting or being the moderator. And I would appreciate everyone's support when election time comes around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian?
Yes, Sam. Thank you again so much. I almost feel like we're having our conversations at the History Museum on Sundays. Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm running for county council because I see a future that I want to create for my children here in Connersville. I say this all the time to people. A lot of negativity in the community when people say bad things. It's creating a place where people want to live, not a place that people have to live. I think that's the biggest thing for our community. I've been fortunate to live a wonderful life here. Better than I ever thought as a kid. And I would like to continue to work for my community, and I would ask for your vote this November for the county council at large.
Thanks, Brian. Jay?
I would like to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, and I would like to thank all the people that's watching right now for paying attention to what everybody's saying. There's been a lot of good ideas coming across this, and I think we need to all just try to pay attention and try to help the county government go along the best we can. And if I get the vote, fine. If I don't, I don't. I'm not going to hurt my feelings.
All right. Thank you all. Just want to remind our viewers that 3 of these fine people will be elected and 3 won't. That's our system, and it's a good system, but we certainly appreciate all of you willing to put yourself out there. It's not an easy thing. We'll be back in a few minutes with School Board District number 1. Thank you. And thank you very much. Coming out of the break, time now for our school board District 1 candidates, and we have with us tonight Erica Black and Melissa Evans. And I'm sorry, Erica Back, misprint there. Sometimes you just got to go with what you know. And,
Yes.
And what's in front of you. School Board District 1 will have opening statements, and we'll start with Erica.
My name is Erica Back. I have been born and raised here. I played sports through school. This is my hometown. I'm Spartan Nation all the way. I have 2 boys that attend Fayette County. So I just want to be a part of, the board and see what's going on and maybe make some changes along the way.
All right, thank you. Melissa?
Thanks, Sam. Hi, I'm Melissa Evans. I was also born and raised in Connersville. I went to school here, graduated from Connersville High School. I have a servant's heart, so I've known since I was 5 years old that I wanted to be a nurse. So I went away to college, went to the University of Indianapolis, and got my bachelor's degree in nursing. And I came back to this community to start my career. I then met my husband, Matt, and we have 3 daughters. Our youngest is a senior this year, so my last one to get through the school system. So, I finally, pretty much raised my family, so my career is stable, so I'm ready to come back and serve our community and focus on our community.
All right, thank you very much. First question will be for Erica. What do you consider the most pressing issue facing our schools today, and how will you address it?
The most pressing issues is we definitely have to get our teachers back in front of our students. Our test scores are showing that as they continue to go down. As a student, I think it's very hard to, first of all, have to ask for a question, and have a question. And then when you're not having your teacher in front of you and you're participating on a Google Chromebook or something, maybe that opportunity is being missed, that our students are just not having enough time one-on-one with our teachers. And I think that is a huge thing that we need to get back to.
All right, thank you. Melissa, same question. What do you consider the most pressing issue facing our schools today, and how would you address it?
I agree some with Erica, but I also think that right now our community is kind of suffering with our enrollment. Our enrollment's down and it's declining every single year. We need to work with the county and figure out ways to bring families to this community. We definitely need the kiddos in our schools so that we can provide all those services, the education for our kids.
All right, and next question will stay with you. What is your stance on the inclusion of arts and humanities in the curriculum, and how will you ensure these subjects are adequately supported?
I do believe that they're very important. Our students need to be well-rounded, not to just focus on English and mathematics and science. We definitely need the arts. We need to be able to provide teachers that are educated and know how to, teach our kids these things so that they can go out and find careers in all kinds of areas and bring that knowledge and skill back to our community.
Thank you. Erica, what is your stance on the inclusion of arts and humanities in the curriculum, and how will you ensure that these subjects are adequately supported?
I think that they are very important for our students. We want to send students off to whatever career path that they are going to choose, whether that's entering the workforce right away or continuing on to college or something else. Having arts and humanities in there, that also helps them be a more rounded student when it comes to going through and beginning to get a job or going to that next level with the colleges and those things.
All right, and the next question is for you. Let's start with, what are your plans for attracting and retaining high quality teachers in our district?
I think that, we really need to look at some budgets and really nail down some things. I think our teachers are, being very well underpaid. I feel that we need to get them back in front of these students, and, they are what is helping our kids mold them in our future. And I think their education is so important on who is in front of them and who is teaching our kids. And I feel like getting them more help, better, pay, a lot more staff in there. I think that that is a big, big thing that we need to look at as a school district.
Thank you. And Melissa, what are your plans for attracting and retaining high-quality teachers in our district?
I do think the biggest goal we have is to retain our good teachers. And to do that, we do have to provide better pay, but we also have to give them the support that they need, whether that be education, just building them up so that they can get into the classrooms and come bring in new ideas to our kiddos, be able to express, all the new lines of thought, different strategies of teaching, get them excited to come back to the classroom and teach. That support's very important.
All right, time for closing statements. This one's going by, two people goes by a lot faster than we had the council in here. But closing statements, and we'll start with Melissa.
Yeah, so like I said in my opening statement, I have a servant's heart. I've come back to our community to serve. I look forward to this opportunity, and I thank you all for looking at me as a candidate and supporting me. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Eric.
Again, my name is Erica Back. I feel like I'm a really good candidate for this position, having, two children on different extremes, one in a special education classroom with special needs and one in a general population. So I think I, understand a little bit better seeing both worlds about budgets and what these kids need, the support the teachers need, the support the staff needs. It all starts from the top and trickles down. And I just feel like I've been really blessed to see both sides of that with my boys. And so I'm just really excited to get involved. And I hope you support me and vote for me.
Thank you very much. One of you will represent, come January, will represent District 1. So best wishes to both of you. We'll be ready for District 2 in a moment. Thank you, and we'll be right back. And we are back with School Board District 2 candidates, Tim Bentley, Ashley Chambers, Leslie Jacobs, and Cambria Sparks. There's one open seat in District 2. We will start on my left with opening statements. Tim?
Hi, good evening. My name's Tim Bentley. Been a lifelong resident of Fayette County. Grew up in District 2 area, went to Everton School. Been involved in several different things here within the county and the city over my life, I guess. By trade, I've worked as an engineer in manufacturing for 25 plus years. I'm also a realtor. A lot of teachers in my family. My wife is a teacher, my son's a teacher, my sister, my brother-in-law. I've got grandkids that's going to be coming up through the schools, and to me it's very important, and I believe that this is a position that oftentimes gets overlooked. And I think it's time for change, and I'm hoping me or one of us up here can bring that change that we need in a rapidly changing world. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Ashley?
I wrote something down
That's
so
fine.
I could stay on track. But my name is Ashley Chambers, and I come in front of you this evening as a candidate for Fayette County School Board District 2. I may be a new face to many of you, as I'm not a lifelong resident of Fayette County. My husband Daniel and I moved to Fayette County 6 years ago. We have made our home in Columbia Township, where we raise our 3 children, one in middle school, one in elementary, and one in preschool. I decided to run for school board because our schools, once safe havens for learning, are facing new challenges. The radical changes you hear about in education nationally are happening right here. As a candidate, I am focused on guiding our district towards conservative values. We must protect our children's educational environment and from bias and hidden agendas.
All right, thank you. Leslie?
Hi, I am Leslie Jacobs. I will have served 2 full terms on the Fayette County School Board. I've been president throughout those 2 terms, and then I served briefly from 2010 to 2012 when I was appointed to fill a vacancy. I have 3 daughters, all adults, who attended Fayette County schools, all 3 successful. They had a good education. I live on my husband's family farm that has been in the family for over 200 years. And he and I ran a grass-fed dairy, and we were the artisan cheese company in Fayette County for 12 years until his passing last year. Since then, I still operate the family farm. I raise beef and sheep. I also have a day job, another job, which is being a licensed clinical social worker, and I've been practicing in Fayette County for 33 years. I currently live at home with my 3 dogs, the very most important individuals in my life in Fayette County, and they are Rex, Chet, and Anwin, 2 border collies and a corgi.
All right, thank you very much. Cambria?
Hi, I'm Cambria Sparks, and I've been a resident of Fayette County for 43 years now. I currently work with the Indiana Department of Veterans Affairs with helping veterans out with getting their benefits. I am currently in the Indiana National Guard, been in for 18 years now, serving my country. I have 2 grown children. One's currently in the Army and one's currently at college, so they're out of the house and on their own. They both grew up in Connorsville, went to school in Connorsville, went through the school system here too. I have nieces and nephews from kindergarten all the way up through middle school, so they're going through the school system now too. Other than that, I volunteer within the community doing sports, church, other things like that. So I've got a lot of free time on my hands and want to start giving back to the community now.
All right, thank all 4 of you. First question will be for Tim. What do you consider the most pressing issue facing our schools today, and how will you address it?
I think, in my opinion, obviously, one of the probably the biggest issues we have in today's society, I think, is safety. You know, like I said, I've got a lot of family that are teachers. My wife is a teacher in Richmond. They've been on lockdown 4 times already this year. I think Ashley mentioned mentioned a little bit about changes in our society, and I believe we see it on the news, but they're happening here in Fayette County. I've got a granddaughter that'll be entering kindergarten next year, and it concerns me as a citizen, as a grandfather, that these kids are scared to death to go into the buildings. They're on edge. You know, they talk about things when they hear mom and dad or they see something on the news. It concerns them, and I think we have to make that first and foremost priority, making sure our students feel safe, they feel like they're in a good learning environment. We have to make sure our teachers feel safe at whatever expense we can. I know several of my family members have mentioned that a number of students are pulling out right now to be homeschooled and online and different things like that because they don't have confidence in our school systems. Because they want their kids to be safe. They want to make sure nothing happens, there's no harm. And I think that's first and foremost right now, is that we make sure that we have a good, safe environment where kids and teachers can learn and work and can meet every day together in a positive environment.
Thank you. Ashley?
I do agree with him on the safety, but I'm going to take a different approach on this. One challenge in our district that our district faces and stands out to me is the decreasing number of students enrolled in Fayette County Public Schools. We are not just decreasing because there are less children in the district. We are also presented with many families choosing neighboring school districts as well as homeschooling. As a school district, we need to come together and dig deeper into why families are not choosing to raise their children here in Fayette County. We need to find reasoning why families are choosing to commute their children to Liberty, Brookville, Rushville, instead of sending their children to the school district in which they reside in. We also need to look at reasons why families are choosing to homeschool over public education. There needs to be a resolution made to keep children in Fayette County School District. As a school district at whole, I feel like we need to do better.
All right, thank you. Leslie, what do you consider the most pressing issue facing our schools today, and how would you address it?
So I want to put that in 2 parts. The way the question is presented is facing our schools, so not just Fayette County schools. And I will say from that standpoint, the pandemic has challenged all schools throughout the United States and probably abroad, but in tremendous ways. The learning loss has been tremendous. Fortunately, in Fayette County, we pivoted and we tried to do some online schooling along with regular in-building schooling, and we continue to try to implement programs to abate some of that learning loss. That's a national problem. On the local level, I agree with the declining enrollment. Unfortunately, it's declining throughout rural areas in Indiana. Excuse me, especially on the east side of the state. The donut areas around Indianapolis, no problem, those are growing. But we face tremendous problems. We lose about 50 students a year. We just hired a brand new superintendent who came from one of the only districts on the east side of Indiana that had increased enrollment. So we're looking forward to some new initiatives and ways that we can improve those numbers in our buildings. But there are a lot of challenges before us. And having listened to the county council prior, we are really hamstrung by the legislature. All of our money comes from the state, and we have to really be creative in how we use our budgets. We have saved money over the years, tremendous money. In the last 8 years, we saved over $150,000 from our budget by attrition and not hiring, not having heavy admin staff. And we continue to work on that every day. We have challenges with maintaining appropriate compensation for our teachers. We have a wonderful relationship with our teachers union, and we continue to find ways, and we've had increases in salaries over the last 2 years that have been fairly monumental and very, very effective for our teachers. In the area, we have the best insurance for the cheapest rate, and but we can always improve. There's always room for improvement. There are many challenges. You know, schools were created for students to learn. That is the bottom line. Our number one job is to matriculate students, to get them from one grade to the next, and where they're learning. And we have challenges in that department too, in ways to enhance learning. Not just the pandemic, but just ways. We are a high poverty district, and that presents challenges. And we've met some of those challenges by starting a preschool, by having an alternative school. And we continue to try to be creative, but the challenges exist, and we continue to try to tackle those.
Thank you. Cambria, what do you consider the most pressing issue facing our schools today, and how will you address it?
I think all three had, great comments, but I think the biggest thing is actually getting our kids to graduate. The graduation rate and getting those kids ready for life after high school. I think that's the biggest thing, and getting them ready for, whether it be college or a job. That's the biggest thing, and I think getting them there is going to we need to have better programs for them. Math is great, but I think we need financial classes for them. Having them ready to tackle, I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for, how to balance a checkbook, how to apply for a loan, how to do those sort of things, life skills like that. They need to be able to do things like that outside of their core classes. Classes like that, they need to be prepared for. That's what I think that needs to be done in those classes outside of history, science, health, things like that. We need to prepare them for things like that outside of core classes.
All right, thank you. Next question will go to Ashley. What is your stance on the inclusion of arts and the humanities in the curriculum, and how will you ensure these subjects are adequately supported?
I feel like, let me see. I feel like giving our kids, you said arts, correct? Can I hear the question again?
The arts, yes. The arts and humanities, music and drama and those types of things, possibly.
I feel like we have to have programs in classes, extracurricular activities for our students, like music, band, art. Children can't just go in the classroom and learn, sit at a desk, learn math, writing. I know those are the most important, English, math, but they have to have somewhere else to express themselves on a deeper level. I think that that's good for mental health, and I feel like that's where we're lacking a lot in the district, or schools in general, and kids. A lot of kids, social media, text, they don't know how to communicate. When you put them in extracurricular activities like band, they put their phones down, they talk, they communicate, they enjoy playing their instrument, or drawing, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So yes, I definitely feel like we need to continue to have those classes, even from kindergarten all the way through. We need to offer those.
All right, thank you. Leslie, same questions. What is your stance on the inclusion of arts and humanities in the curriculum, and how will you ensure these subjects are adequately supported?
Well, that's a great question. And we've had some declining enrollment in our band program. That's been very challenging. We had some trouble getting enough kids to do, oh my goodness, the flags.
Guard.
Color guard, or guard, just guard. Yeah, getting kids to do guard. And a lot of, with sports, you have feeder programs. So you have those things happening. Obviously, you don't have guard on an earlier basis, and we don't involve band until 6th grade. Kids get involved in that. We have wonderful educators in those departments. One thing that has happened more recently in the community between the Art Association, the Imagine performers, They are now helping out some of our programming. We've had the newspaper enlist kids to help write some articles. We do art shows of our kids in art at the Art Association. They have regular showings of those, their productions. And I think that building that in the community has been a wonderful step. I think that is going to help us because we know that we have to have things across the board. If you have strong public communities, you have strong public schools. So I think we're doing a good job by having excellent teachers, but we can always do more to try to recruit children, to get them involved at an earlier age. As I said before, the legislature dictates almost everything we do, from our curriculum, how much time teachers have to spend on different subject matter. I recently read an article, it wasn't Fayette County, it was actually in our paper though, that some schools in teaching literature are having to only have the kids read like the first 3 or 4 chapters, and then the rest is just summarized because the state has all these standards that they have to teach, and there's not enough time in the schedule. So some of this are also things we have to advocate on the legislative level. Currently, I serve as the Region 6 Director for the Indiana School Board Association, and I've been on the Indiana School Board Association's Legislative Committee. And just as members of the County Council said, our work as school board members is definitely in our community. That is where 90% of our work is. However, we realize that our money comes from somewhere else. And so if we want programs like the arts enhanced, we have to be talking to our legislatures about more money because we really don't receive enough money to run all the programs to the extent we want to. We have done, to get marching band uniforms, that couldn't be funded by the school. That had to go to the community in order to seek funding for that. So unfortunately, so much is limited through that obstacle. However, I think our teachers do a great job, and I love this connection between the community and the schools, and I think that's really going to help.
All right. Thank you. Cambria, what is your stance on the inclusion of arts and humanities in the curriculum, and how will you ensure these subjects are adequately supported?
I do agree that getting them involved at an early age benefits them and encourages them to continue going on. Like Leslie said, band starts at 6th grade and continues on, and it is a decline in band with kids from 6th grade on up to high school. Just getting them involved at an early age and continuing that is crucial, and I do intend to try to help as much as possible to continue that and start with the community and continue doing that. Like she said, the Imagine performing arts is a good thing, and continuing that and doing as much as I can to help with the community.
All right, thank you. Tim, I guess you didn't get to answer that question.
Not yet.
All right, what is your stance on inclusion of arts and humanities in the curriculum, and how will you ensure these subjects are adequately supported?
Well, I definitely think we need to make them a priority. I mean, the core classes are important, but being in management and manufacturing for 25 years, it is important to read, write, and those kind of things, but there's so many of these kids that are coming out. I think Cam mentioned life skills and such. When I was sitting out in the hallway, I heard county council talking about job creation and things like that. It's important that we give these kids every touch that they can touch as far as opportunities and stuff, whether that be, band or music or art, or whether it be some type of vocational or something. I was talking to a friend of mine. Their school actually starts vocational in 9th grade, and they rotate every year. We only allow our kids to go in junior and 11th grade, and they go for 2 years. But I think that's a good idea to let those kids go all 4 years and rotate different classes. It gives them a great exposure to different things. Some kids aren't college material, but county council can have all the plans that they want. But I'm here to tell you right now, if whoever is on this school board is not directing these students to be productive citizens, it isn't going to matter. We're going to fail as a city. We're going to fail as a school district. We have to make these kids ready to not just be book smart, to not just be smart behind a screen, but they've got to be ready to be our next business people. They've got to be ready to be our next entrepreneurs and so forth. So I think it's very important that we do that. And I get the money comes from the state, but keep in mind, folks and people of Fayette County, our schools get a very, very large sum of money. I was looking earlier today on Indiana Gateway. I think in 23 we got over $60 million here in Fayette County. That's more than our county council that was up here talking just a little bit ago, and our city combined. So these school board members carry a great deal of responsibility and physicality of dealing with our funds. So when we talk about the arts and stuff like that and giving our kids opportunities, we need to make sure those are available. The money's there. And I was talking to some teachers, and now that I'm running and stuff, a lot of people will talk to me. They'll tell me different things. And it's my understanding right now that we don't have an art teacher at the middle school. That's inexcusable. Those students should have every opportunity for those programs, and we as board members ought to make sure they're available to them. And I can promise, if I'm elected to this seat, I will be listening to you parents, families, teachers, and I'll do everything I can to make sure those programs are in place. If it means cutting from somewhere else, we have to put that $60 million in the classrooms to benefit the students, to benefit our community and our state. It just has to work that way. There's no other way to do it. And folks, you got my commitment that I will be part of that solution. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next question's for Leslie. Excuse me. How will you address issues related to bullying and mental health support within the schools?
Wow. You've hit on my number one thing. You know, I'm a clinical social worker. I see mental health issues every day. The increase in anxiety and depression in teenagers and children, it is out of control. And it is recommended that you have, I think it's one school counselor for every 250 kids, and we're at about 500 per counselor. First of all, one thing that we need to work on is getting our graduates or any young people out there to go into school counseling, because it's incredibly difficult to find school counselors anymore. We now hire social workers. We have Meridian and Centerstone in our schools. We have a contract with them. And we continue to struggle to find, to keep up with the mental health challenges. And we work on those every single day. What was the first part of your question before the mental health?
Bullying.
Bullying. So there are tremendous issues with conflict. And our teachers and our principals do work every day to try to manage those difficulties. Do they still happen? Yeah, they do. We have invested a lot of dollars into programs. I just participated in a program at the middle school, and I've participated, this was my third year. It's called Challenge Day, where they bring in speakers and all 8th graders attend, and it's a full day program, and it is exactly about that. It's about understanding what's going on in everybody's life, so that, you know, kind of that notion of be kind. You never know what's going on in somebody's life. And they explore a range of topics with these 8th graders. And what was amazing about that day was the openness that these kids had to share some of the difficulties they had in their life. So then they come to school after having tremendous amount of problems at home, and where do those problems end up coming out? At school. And it may be bullying, but it may also be depression. It may be anxiety, not being able to sit through a class. So we are challenged every day to address those and to continue to come up with programs like Challenge Day to help our students directly, and then the other piece of needing to hire people that are trained in counseling, which is becoming very difficult to do. It's almost impossible now to find a school psychologist. Schools always had psychologists. We had a school psychologist, Dick Leiter, for years and years. He was probably here for, I don't know, 40, 50 years. I mean, he's still in the community, but he's not serving in that capacity. We have psychometrists now, and those are people that can do testing, but they're not psychologists. But one, you can't find those people that do school psychology, and the dollars to have them are very difficult to come by. We do as much as we can, and we continue to work on that.
All right, thank you. So, Cambria, how will you address issues related to bullying and mental health support within the schools?
Well, this is a very close subject to me, just because my son is one that experienced bullying at Grandview. So with the bullying issue, I think that we need to take stricter disciplinary actions against bullying. I don't think that our school system takes strict, how do I put this? I don't think we take disciplinary actions against the bullies. So I think that when the bullying is going on, I think that we need to take stricter disciplinary actions against the bullies. And I think that the parents need to be brought into that disciplinary actions also. If it continues happening, I think those parents need to be brought in to that. There needs to be some repercussions with the parents also. And I think that it doesn't need to be just, let's let this kid go back to school. Or let's switch this kid to a different school. Let's start having some disciplinary actions for this child. With the mental health, yes, I agree that there are mental health issues that we need to face. I'm in the military. The mental health crisis is crucial in the United States. Like Leslie said, there's not enough people in the United States to tackle this mental health crisis. Like she said, yes, we need to get people hired, and we need to start getting these graduates to start going into the mental health field. We need to find some way to incentivize these students to go into the mental health field and try to keep them here in Fayette County, and to get them to work in our school systems to help these children that are having anxiety, depression, even PTSD. We need to find some way to keep these high school graduates in Fayette County to help us with this crisis. And if we can do that, that's going to help our community and our school system. I don't know what way we can do that, but we need to find some way to do that.
Okay, thank you. So, next question goes to Tim then.
I didn't answer this one.
You didn't answer, well, that's
and neither
I was
did
coming to
Ashley.
that.
Neither did Ashley, I don't think.
No, I hadn't got,
I got
yeah. Anyway, how will you address issues of bullying and mental health support within the schools?
Okay, so anyways, I agree with what was said previously. On the topic of bullying, I 100% agree with Cam. We don't address it swiftly enough. Now, I know we can't do it, but I can tell you, I was a recipient when I was in school of a wooden board across my tail end. And I really think that would help. But I know in the state that we're in today, we can't do that. But a lot of these kids, they don't get a lot of direction at home. Matter of fact, they probably get very little interaction at home. Mom and Dad's working. They're left to run the castle, if you will. And I think that's a lot of the issue. We're not, the kids aren't getting one-on-one. Kids don't grow up to be bad kids. They don't grow up and say, I want to be a bad kid. It's because they're not getting the guidance and direction. But like I said, I got a lot of family that are teachers. And this is something that gets talked about often at the dinner table, is that they feel like it's a yo-yo with these kids and bullying and discipline and stuff, that, they'll have a kid interrupt their class. They send them to the principal's office, and the principal office smacks them on the hand and sends them back. That's inexcusable. If these kids want to keep acting up, we ought to have a 3-strike rule or whatever and say, listen, you've crossed the line. We're going to expulsion now. Okay, you've crossed that line. You're no longer going to be in this school. You need to be homeschooled or whatever. We can't let these kids interrupt the education of the kids that want to learn. And you've got teachers that are getting extremely frustrated because they can't teach because half of their day is being interrupted by these issues. Some of these kids even feel like it's a game. You know, if they don't want to learn, do this particular subject or activity, they know, they're like, well, I'll get up and flip that chair over. I'll get sent to the principal's office, and I don't have to do it. And that's inexcusable. If those kids continue to have that behavior, it needs to be addressed more swiftly. You know, mental health, I get, is an issue. We do need to have those people to address those things, to help those kids. But again, those interruptions in the classroom needs to be minimized. If those kids need to be pulled out or have some special services or something, we need to be doing that. I think that's a big reason why we're having decline in enrollment. You've got families that's like, listen, I don't want little Johnny or little Susie having to be interrupted 5 times a day because Billy has a temper tantrum. It's affecting everything. We've got to make some changes. Now, I will say in wrapping up here, one of the greatest assets that I believe I had, Sam, you probably, and others in this room, was having mentors. I remember through high school, I can probably count a dozen teachers that I know went over and above what they should have as a teacher to invest in me, to say, Tim, what are you going to do with your life? You know, Tim, hey, that wasn't cool what you did. Yeah, and they explained why. And we need more of that. We need, if the parents aren't going to do it, we need teachers, and the teachers are bogged down. They don't really have time. But we need community members. We need whatever faculty that can. We need administrators. We need board members that comes in. Years ago in Richmond when I worked there, I was part of a program that was a mentorship, and we went into some of the schools. And it was kind of funny. One of the first students I got, I don't know if you guys remember Kathy McCarty, but she worked here in the corporation. She was a principal up at Dennis, and she said, boy, Tim, do I have the student for you. I won't say his name, but a kid that, you know, he had some issues, but he and I had some similarities. And over that year that I got to mentor with him, I'd bring him in lunch. Hey, how's it going? What, you know, I heard you had a breakdown today. You know, that's what these kids need. These kids, like I said, they don't wake up in the morning and say, I want to be bad. But they need influence. They need interaction. And they need somebody willing to invest in them. And we as a community, like I said, county council and all those guys can say, hey, we're doing this, this, and this. But it doesn't matter if our youth aren't prepared to take the baton when it's their turn. We have to make sure they're equipped, that they're ready, they're focused, and that means us investing in them today to get them ready. So.
All right, thank you. So, Ashley, how will you address issues related to bullying and mental health support within the schools?
One of my priorities include ensuring safe and healthy learning environments. That also includes parental rights in the educational system. I believe students need to have their parents involved, and that probably starts way back in elementary or even the preschool. I know the preschool program offers a lot of little activities that parents come in and do. The elementary does that too. I think we need to keep our parents involved so they continue to parent their children. I feel like our children lack communication skills these days. They text, they use social media, and that makes them callous. It makes them have anxiety. It makes them have depression. It makes them think a text that you read one way, somebody else will read it and take it a whole different other way. So I feel like we need to teach our children to communicate better, put the screen time down, and learn to interact with each other. I feel like the mental health crisis is upon everywhere, but our schools, the children in the school are being left behind when it comes to that. I feel like we just sweep it under the rug a lot of times, and we don't get them the true help they need. If they don't have the help at home, we need to find them help at school. It may not be able to be a social worker or a school psychologist. We need to at least find people in the community that can have some basic training to help children, just to talk to them, just to give them some everyday advice to keep, to express their feelings. And, that also has to do with the bullying. I feel like kids need to be held accountable at a young age and keep that going all through high school. If we don't hold them accountable at a young age, they're not going to be held accountable. They're going to be out of control by middle school and high school. So I feel like kids need consequences. I know that he's mentioned like expulsion and stuff. I know at the legislation level, you can't just expel a kid these days like you could before. They want children to stay in school, so they're not going to let you just kick them out of school for reasons. But I do feel like we need to involve the parents more and hold the children accountable.
All right, thank you. That brings us to our final question here. And we'll start with Cambria on this one. How would you handle conflicts and disagreements among board members or between the board and district administration?
Well, I think that it needs to be done behind closed doors, not publicly. And it should be done in a mature manner. And I think that it should be done without tempers being risen. As adults, we're all adults. We can sit here and talk privately, and we all have difference of opinions. Mm-hmm. And we can sit here and discuss it, and at the end of the day, you have an opinion, I have an opinion. We can sit here and talk about it, and we can walk away from the conversation as adults. And at the end of the day, we vote about it, and as long as it's ethically and morally right, as long as we vote, and as long as the board votes about it, and if us four vote, I'm outvoted, as long as it's ethically and morally right, if I'm outvoted, I can go with the board.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you. Tim, how would you handle conflicts and disagreements among board members or between the board and the administration, the district administration?
Well, Sam, I'm a little shy. I don't like conflict, but I'm just teasing. I agree with Cam. I think we're adults. We have to be professional. We have to be respectful of everybody. I think if we do have some disagreements, we need to do it one-on-one with those particular people. We need to discuss our disagreements and things and try to keep it private if possible. I think the community needs to know the board is unified and that we're not out to get anyone or out to trip anybody up or anything like that. And there is going to be times, like Cam said, that we vote differently. And I'll be honest, that's one of my concerns now as a board, as I see the school board, is you don't always have to vote yes. And I think the administration needs to understand that there's a lot of us parents that are concerned. That's why there's so many of us running. And I think if the citizens of Fayette County elect some of us, you're going to start seeing some no votes on the board. The administration needs to understand that, listen, we're not there to rock the boat, but we're there because we want change. We're concerned with the outcome, with graduation rates being low, enrollment rates being low, all these issues we talked about, bullying, mental health and stuff. We're concerned about all these. So yes, there may be times that we don't always agree, but we can agree to disagree. We can say, hey, we're all in it together. We're all in it for the same outcome. And at the end of the day, it's okay if the majority, outvoted on this particular topic or whatever. And the same way with the administration. I think we've all got the same end goal. But I think the administration needs to understand that the way the election process is set up for a member to be voted in each district, we're there to represent our district. And they need to understand there's going to be times that we may not agree with the direction that they're going, and we may not want to go along with that. But that's why we have a board, and that's why we have a vote. But at the end of the day, I think we all have to be unified, like-minded, and professionals, and willing to discuss in a professional manner.
All right, thank you. Ashley, how would you handle conflicts and disagreements among board members or between the board and the administration?
I feel like as a board, there's 7 members on the board. You work as a team, but you also work to make decisions in the best interest of the students, the teachers, the staff, and we need to have constructive conflict where somebody can voice their opinion on why they're voting no or voting yes, and others are not going the same way as them. But at the end of the day, everybody does vote, and the majority wins, or it goes the majority way. So handling conflict, I don't think there is actual conflict. I feel like you work through it, and we represent our district, and we need to make sure we give the children what they need, because kids come first. And I'm not a conflict person, so but I do have my own opinions on things, and I will stand up for what I believe in. And if I don't agree, I won't agree. I'm not going to follow suit with whatever everybody else does.
All right, thank you. Leslie, how would you handle conflicts and disagreements among board members or between the board and administration?
Well, one thing I want to share is that what the public sees at a board meeting is the result of lots of conversations and information prior to that board meeting. So in the example of voting yes or no, it's generally known a superintendent nor a board member likes surprises. So a superintendent is not going to bring something up at a meeting without having properly vetted it with the board. We receive regular communications on anything that might involve money. We get tremendous amount of resources to read, to research. And if we have a disagreement or we don't like something, generally that is expressed when it's presented to us, when we're provided with the information, and the superintendent seeks that feedback and we provide that. And that's done in person, that's done through our weekly communication. So that when we come to a meeting, when the superintendent is presenting something, he or she, in our case he, has an idea if that is something that the board even wants to do. It's not that the board has made any decision prior, but the information has been presented. And if there are a lot of dissenting opinions, then the superintendent isn't going to bring that before the board, because that wouldn't make any sense. So when the public sees people do a yes vote and they see predominantly yes votes and believe that it's just a rubber stamp, what they're not aware of is all the work that's gone up prior to that time period, where there's been a lot of expression of both positive and negative. And board members generally let the superintendent know, I can't vote for that. And so the superintendent knows ahead of time. If there were 4 board members who said, well, I don't like this idea, the superintendent's not going to present it. So I think that kind of gets missed, and people aren't aware of that perhaps, how much communication, how much information we receive, that we choose, if you want to be that kind of board member, to read it all and pay attention and look at the numbers. In terms of conflict among board members, that too is generally taken care of behind closed doors. It can go on for a long period of time, and unfortunately it sometimes does go on for a long period of time. When it violates a policy, when there is concern about litigation, we have vehicles under which we can utilize in order to address those, and those are called our executive sessions. And those are held in private, those are not public. those pertain, you're only allowed by state statute to hold executive sessions under certain circumstances. But a board can hold many of those in trying to address conflict. When conflict is not addressed, is not fully resolved during those meetings, there are times that conflict does come out in the board. Now, one thing I will say about our board compared to many boards, and I've watched lots of board meetings from other boards, I've had lots of communication with other board members, there are some really contentious boards that every meeting are arguing. And we're talking about arguing, not just having a difference of an opinion. And some school boards think that that's totally appropriate, and it can get very heated. Our board has never had a heated argument within a board meeting about a topic that the superintendent has brought forth that wasn't, I mean, we've never had anything that got that heated. We've resolved anything behind closed doors. There are occasions where it hasn't been resolved, but in terms of the monthly meetings with our every month decisions that we have to make, we don't have that kind of conflict. And as everybody has stated, if you're not in the majority and that whatever it is passes and you didn't choose to have it pass, to a person, every board member goes on about their business and we move forward. So I think we have a good mechanism to manage conflict. I just think that a lot of people aren't aware how much work goes on behind the scenes. Sometimes it can be months. It can also sometimes be longer than that. And generally, there's a resolution found.
All right, thank you. Time for closing statements. Cambria?
Well, I'm just Cambria Sparks, and I want to make change within the Fayette County School District. Vote for me.
All right, thank you. Tim?
My turn. All right. You know, I think we all are here because, we care. This isn't a lucrative position. The money that it pays is nowhere near worth the time. We're all here because we've got family, kids, grandkids. We've got a vested interest. As I close, I'm going to mention a few things real quick, and I'll be as quick as I can. I know, we've got other elections coming up with council and stuff. And one of the things I hear is, we need more jobs, we need more money, we need more tax base and stuff like that. I mentioned I've worked in manufacturing 25 years. I've been involved in planting a lot of companies. I've worked in supplier development many of those years. And I'll tell you, there's two things. When companies are looking to locate, and I know we just landed one, and I hope it turns out to be a great asset for Connersville. But there's two things during my career that I've seen companies want whenever they're looking for a town to move to. And the number one thing they look for is schools. That's the number one thing they're looking at. So not only do we have a physical responsibility to be stewards of this money, but if we want to attract more business, if we want our students to be more productive in society, that starts with us board members. That starts with us setting the marching beat. And I want to be part of that solution. The second thing they look for is quality of life. They look, what is there around the community to do? Is there shopping centers? Is there Walmarts? Is there bowling alleys, movie theaters? They look for what can we do as a family, quality of life. And I know that one's really not in our control, but that number one, school, that lies on us. And we have to be a leader and part of that solution. A couple other things that I want to mention. We've got to do better. I know that council has done a great deal here. The board is working with salaries and stuff, but we got to get our teacher salaries up. A lot of our teachers are coming in teaching, on average making about $50,000 a year. We know the cost of living is going up on everything. We got to do better. We're paying subs $80 a day. We got to do better. It costs them $15 a day to put gas in their car, $10 for lunch. Taxes, by the end of the day, they might bring home $40 a day. It's not worth them getting out of bed dealing with these issues for $80 a day. We have a very high ratio of aides at Fayette County. We're using a lot of those aides. We're pulling them from Title I and different things to sub. We shouldn't be doing that. We need to make sure that we've got a sub base. We're letting those aides teach. We're also pulling our teachers out of their prep time to sub. Again, shouldn't be happening. These teachers have a load of stuff on them now. And those are things that we're tasked as a board with, is making sure that we fix. You know, those are just a few of the things that I'm willing to commit to, that I've heard, that I'm willing to commit to try to be part of the solution. Because like I said, I've got a vested interest. I've got 2 grandkids, hopefully more in the future, boys, if you're listening. You know, I care about this community. I care about these schools and the future of our kids, and that they are productive citizens, that they're our next business owners, doctors, nurses, entrepreneurs, psychologists, whatever. But it starts with us. And I'm going to ask, you know, there's 4 great choices up here. Number 1, exercise your right and vote. Get out and vote. We have extremely low voter turnout, folks. Get out and vote. I don't care which one of you vote for. I think we all care. I think we all want what's best. But get out and vote. But if you want to vote for the best, I ask if you vote for me. Just kidding. I'm a little biased, but that's all I got, Sam.
All right. Thanks a lot, Tim. Ashley, closing comments.
As a school board candidate, I'm prepared to speak up and serve as an advocate for public education in our community. I have a background in early childhood education where I taught pre-K and I was an assistant director. I also have a nursing background where I worked in pediatrics at Dayton Children's Medical Center in the nursing field. I have been a successful business owner and an administrator of a construction company. No, I do not have a long history of public education, but I do bring a mother's perspective to the table and believe being a parent with children in the district, I can facilitate open communication channels between the superintendent, the board, and the community. I'm willing to pursue the skills and knowledge and the training necessary to become fully engaged and effective board member. The election's November 5th, and your vote matters. As a candidate, I am focused on guiding our district in a positive outlook for our future. Your vote is crucial. It is a decision that will help shape the future direction of our schools. Let's ensure our education system remains positive for the future of our children in our community.
All right. Thank you. Leslie, wrap it up with you.
Yeah. Well, it's been interesting to hear everybody's perspective. And I agree with Tim that I think anybody that runs for school board, us 4, the other candidates, are doing it because they care about kids, which is the #1 priority. Being a school board member is a lot of work. There's a lot of materials that I think personally we should be looking at, we should be reading. We should be very aware of what's happening at the state level. That's where our money comes from. Education is one of the top funded, but not always receiving the dollars. There's a lot of mandates that come from the state that we are required to fulfill. We don't have a choice. And so I believe we have to be active on that level as well. One of the skills I think I bring to the school board is being a problem solver. I have been a social worker for 33 years. The best advice I got was when I first came on the board, and Carl Hilton, who was, is a stellar man, a wonderful educator, and a great board member. And generally when new people come on the board, somebody mentors them from the board, and he was my mentor. And the main message he gave me is there are many sides to an issue. There's not just 2 sides. Well, there's certainly not one side. There are not just 2 sides. There can be 3, there can be 4, and when you're involving students, absolutely. You know, there's teachers, there's parents, there's the state, there's the school board, there's administration. Everybody has their opinion about what's the best thing and the best direction to go in. And we have to listen. We have to listen to all that information, and we have to read all the materials. We have to attend the meetings. There is a lot asked of school board members. We need to get into the schools for all the programs and the events that take place and the athletics. There's a lot of demands on school board members. So I feel that's what I offer the board. That's what I've been doing. My role with the Indiana School Board Association has given me a unique opportunity to interface with lots of folks throughout the state that serve on school boards and some of the challenges that they manage, along with, sharing some of the challenges that our district manages. The problems that we've all raised, from mental health to declining enrollment, graduation rate, those things we're tackling every day. We have the best staff. I can't praise, from our teachers to our admin to our custodians to our bus drivers Tim's comment about not finding enough subs. We've been very fortunate to have enough bus drivers, but there have been school corporations that have started without bus drivers. I think it was last year or the year before, Richmond started without 20 teachers. Fayette County has pretty much started every year with a teacher in every classroom, but we're having struggles finding people to fill a lot of those positions, and that's true. So we have to continue to support the people that are doing the great work. Every day those teachers are faced with challenges. Our administrators are faced with challenges. And by golly, they just go at it. They don't blink an eye. They may be frustrated, I get it. They are oftentimes frustrated, but they show up the next day with a smile on their face. The best day in school is that first day. Well, actually, I don't know, registration was pretty exciting. I went to a couple of schools, and the kids are so eager. Parents are probably a little bit eager too for school to start. But when you go into a school and you see those kids, I don't care what level it is, at high school when they're laughing on the courtyard or, hanging out with their friend at a lunch table, to those little elementary kids who are coming up and tugging on you. I mean, that's the best feeling in the world. And we owe it. We owe it to the people that work in our schools. And I think that by and large, we're doing a great job. Do we have challenges? Absolutely. I'd be the first to say it. And I feel like my main job is to help ensure that students are successful, and that's with all the challenges, with the mental health, with our declining enrollment and children leaving our district. And I think we continue to do that work, and it's work every day. So I'm up for the task. I've been passionate about this work. I love education. I love everything that we do. People say school board is a thankless job. I don't believe it. I don't buy it. School board has a lot of rewards, and maybe it's internal, just knowing that we're doing the work, but every day you see those kids and you see a success, you just are grateful. So that's what I'd say, and I hope that the people in my district vote for me.
All right, thank you. One of these four will be elected to school board, and wish you all the best and appreciate you coming out tonight. And we'll be right back with School Board District 3 after this. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Welcome back. Before we begin our final panel of candidate questions, we would like to remind the viewers that Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Voting centers will be open from 6 a.m. through 6 p.m. and are located at 5 locations: Baptist Temple Gymnasium, the Courthouse, New Heights Church, Miller Center, Banquet Hall, and the Keener Building in Everton. Fayette County Courthouse will also be taking early voting beginning October the 8th. We now turn to the candidates for School Board District 2. There are 2 open seats in this district. Our candidates include, and some of them unable to be here tonight, but our candidates include Joseph Bunyard, Jared Glaub, Sasha Henderson, Dustin Munson, Deron Price, Leighanna Torres, and Jeremy Williams. We have with us tonight Dustin, Deron, and Jeremy. Welcome, gentlemen. Glad you could be here.
Thank you.
We'll start with opening statements. We'll start with Dustin.
I'm Dustin Munson. I'm running for school board. I'm married for 7 years. I've got a son. He'll be starting school next year. So I just thought I should probably get involved and see if we can make some changes and make the school a little nicer, a little better.
All right. Thank you, Deron.
Hi, I'm Deron Price. I'm running District 3. I've been married to my wonderful wife, Teresa, for 34 years. I have 7 kids and 3 grandkids. I still have 3 kids in the Fayette County schools. And I just think I can offer some fresh ideas to the board.
All right, Jeremy.
My name is Jeremy Williams. I'm a lifetime resident here in Fayette County. Other than about 10 years. Married. Wife and I have 4 kids, 1 granddaughter. So I've been on the school board currently for the last, this was the 4th year. So I'm hoping to seek to re-election again. Some of the things about myself, engineering degree with bachelor's degree in engineering and an MBA from Indiana Wesleyan as well. So some of the things I bring to the table that maybe the others don't is I have an entire field or work history of manufacturing, which has, most of the big portion of the population works in manufacturing in one form or another. So that's some of the skill set I do bring to the table that not a lot of other people do on the board. So hoping to seek to continue and get reelected again.
All right. Thank you, Jeremy. First question will go to Dustin. What do you consider the most pressing issue facing our schools today, and how will you address it?
I believe we need to make sure that we have good staff, that we've got, that there's plenty of the staff to help the students. It sounds to me there's a lot of kids that have trouble in school, and there's kind of like larger classrooms, so they can't get the little extra help they need. So if we could add a little bit of staff, if it's possible by the budget, I believe that'd be a good option to look at to try to help the students, because that's our ultimate goal, is to make the students better when they graduate.
All right. Thank you. Deron, what do you consider the most pressing issue facing our schools today, and how will you address it?
I think I'm kind of like Jeremy. I think retaining qualified staff and getting hopefully some of our graduates from CHS to go to school to be educators and come back and help teach here at Connersville. If there are incentives out there that we can help with those students, I would love to look at those and help those students out and get them back here teaching.
All right, thank you. Jeremy, what do you consider the most pressing issue facing our schools today, and how would you address them?
True, teachers retention is a big #1 issue, but also with the declining enrollment, the finances, the budgeting and everything for us to have teachers. We've already made strides in raising teachers' pay and benefits. We're probably one of the highest in our area, East Central area, as a total package. And so continuing that, keep raising the bar, I think we'll keep retaining teachers and other things.
All right. Thank you. Second question will go to Deron. What is your stance on inclusion of arts and humanities in the curriculum, and how will you ensure these subjects are adequately supported?
I think they're vital. I was a band member. My wife was. My kids have been band, choir, all the art classes in general are vital to not only broadening our students' horizons, but it's been shown that those students who participate in those types of activities have a well-rounded education at the end. We need to look at some of the upcoming changes to the diploma tracks and talk with the state and keep them apprised of how we feel going forward with those, and making sure that the arts are included in those diploma tracks.
All right, Jeremy, same question. What is your stance on the inclusion of arts and humanities in the curriculum, and how would you ensure these subjects are adequately supported?
Yeah, I'm in favor of keeping them inclusion. We definitely need it. What I've found over the years, especially coming from myself in the manufacturing field, is a lot of people that came from that background, very creative-minded. They think outside the box a little more than some of the others. And those are the characteristics that we need in all fields of study, fields of employment. So with that, I think we have to keep pressure on the state to maintain those kind of programs for us, and at whatever cost it needs to do.
All right, thank you. Dustin, same question. What is your stance on the inclusion of arts and humanities in the curriculum, and how will you ensure these subjects are adequately supported?
I agree. I think that we need to make sure that they stay. The students that do all of those, they're very disciplined because of just the time it takes to learn and make sure that they're at the top of their game for it. So whatever we need to do with the state to try to make sure that it stays.
All right, thank you. Next question will be for Jeremy. How will you address issues related to bullying and mental health support within the schools?
Okay. That's a big issue that's still going on for us, especially with the new generation. I think by some of the biggest thing is education among the students and parents as well, on how to handle conflict and differences. Additionally, we can look at increasing resources for counselors and stuff, people like that with the skill sets, and just continuing education on it and trying to prevent it from happening.
All right. Same question now to you, Dustin. How will you address issues of bullying and mental health support within the schools?
I believe that the students, when they're causing trouble, there needs to be some kind of structure that you do. Whenever you cause problems, you need to go see counselors and see if they can't work it out. Call the families, sit down and talk to the families with them, see if you can figure out what the root of the cause is, and try to get them to straighten out on it. And then if all else fails, maybe have to remove them if they're not gonna, because you can't interrupt the rest of the students' learning if you can't get a corrective behavior out of it.
Thank you. Same question, Deron. How will you address the issues of bullying and mental health support within the schools?
I think the addition of additional counselors where we can put those in would be a key component. I believe that the new cell phone policy that the state passed has given a help to the situation. However, once kids are outside of school, that can continue. So just, again, continuing education, not only for the students, but for parents and administrators as well.
Thank you. Dustin, how would you handle conflicts and disagreements among board members or between the board and the administration?
Well, I mean, we're all grown adults, so you take their opinion, see what they're seeing it from their side, you explain your side, and if it's going to come down to something as in a vote, then you just vote the way that you believe is right for the students and to help make sure our education's there.
All right. Deron, how would you handle conflicts and disagreements among board members or between the board and the administration?
I think in any group, you're always going to have some sort of disagreement, or somebody's not going to see something the same way you do. I think, again, like Dustin just said, conversation getting to the root of what the difference is. And if you can't come to an agreement on a path forward, then just simply agree to disagree and move on.
All right, thank you. And finally here, same question. Jeremy, how would you handle conflicts and disagreements among board members or between the board and the administration?
I agree with both those guys there. And as a professionals on the board, we're respected people. We're supposed to bring morals, values, and ethics to the table. With that, we have conversations. We sit down, we discuss it, we take each other's opinion. But sometimes we do it in a private manner. We don't use any other sector of that. And then once we come to agreement, we have an easier decision to make between each other. We are correct. Sometimes we do not agree, and that's why you have a board of 7, or you have multiple people in the admin. But yes, we work it out between each other.
All right, thank you. Final question will go to you, Jeremy. What experience or background do you have that you believe will contribute to your effectiveness as a school board member?
Okay. I have well over 25 years of manufacturing background, actually probably more like 35 to be specific. With that, I bring back, CapEx, budgeting background, working with different people of different skill sets, different education levels. A lot of the things that some of the other people may not necessarily have in their background, but that is one thing that I do bring. I can also bring that a lot of the manufacturing sector, I see what is needed out there, what skill sets, what education is needed from the students, from when they're in school and when they're out of school as well.
All right, thank you. Deron, Dustin, what experience or background do you have that you believe will contribute to your effectiveness as a school board member?
We have our own family business, so I understand like budgeting and those aspects. I'm a career fireman, so we see a lot as far as education goes for all types of situations. Very quick and responsive to be able to figure out a way to correct whatever issues. So I think that'll be a good help to the board.
All right, thank you. And finally, Deron, what experience or background do you have that you believe will contribute to your effectiveness as a school board member?
Having 7 children go through our school system has been a big help. Continuing to be, if I can't attend the meetings, watching them on Channel 3 or on YouTube. I've worked with the public for over 40 years, so I understand the dichotomy between what the public thinks and what is actually able to happen with the school board. So I think bringing an understanding of how that works to the board would be a strength for me.
All right, thank you. And finally, I guess that's all 3 of you answered that. Getting late here. Time for closing statements, and Deron, we'll start with you.
Okay. Again, my name is Deron Price, school board candidate for District 3. Just appreciate your support come November.
All right, Jeremy?
Again, I'm seeking re-election. Currently been on, like I said, this term. I'm proud to say we've made some big strides and improvements in the corporation. We've got a plan that's in place and it's continuing for infrastructure improvements, also for teacher retention, improvements, and with my background, the way it has in manufacturing and other areas, I think that brings a strong asset to the position. I also believe that we need to have a diverse school board that gives us this the decision-making skill set that we need. And finally, I'm also just a big believer that in parents' rights and reasonable. That a few years ago we went through as we all know, the COVID and all that, and it should never be taken away from the parents as who has the choice on the decisions for their children. So I'm a big proponent of that, and that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And closing statement for you.
My name is Dustin Munson. I'm running for school board District 3. If you want a fresh outlook, some transparency, vote for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Remind everybody that District 3, 2 will be elected out of District 3, and there are seven people running. So here are 3 of them, and I'm sure that they entertain any questions you might, if you see them out, that they may have, and appreciate you all. Thank you all for being with us this evening. And again, we would like to thank, or we'd like to remind the viewers that early voting begins at the courthouse on October 8th, and Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Voting centers will be open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and are located at Baptist Temple Gymnasium, New Heights Church, the Miller Center Banquet Hall, and the Keener Building in Everton, and at the Fayette County Courthouse. Have a pleasant evening and good night.